Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and today I'm going to share with you a flip of, I believe, what is the biggest journal I've made so far. So this is actually, it was initially a book. So I didn't alter the book because I just took apart the cover and then made a spine, fabric spine, and then just put the signatures. I did reinforce the spine to the cover, and you'll see that in just a minute, and put some buttons here. And before I start any explanation, this is my Christmas project for this year of 2021. So I did manage to create what I would call like coffee table book, and the idea behind was to create this, to just tuck everything Christmas related I had and thought went well into this journal, and just create this big chunky table coffee book, full of surprise, yeah, but also of supplies. That's what I wanted to say. So yeah, without further ado, I'm just going to open this beast up. I did tie it with some, now it's all crinkly, but I did tie it with some sort of, it's a very light material. It also, it almost looks like a scarf material, but there's those beautiful horses and some interesting colors, and this is just tied like so, but you can remove that if you want to. So that's for the closure. What else can I say before I start the flip? There are 3 signatures. The spine is a very heavy upholstery fabric. It's vintage, and well, I did glue it first on the covers, and then I did, as I said, attach the cover with some threads and just added some buttons to decorate it. It is a very heavy book. I didn't weight it, but I believe it's, I don't know, it's just the biggest book I've done so far. So that if anyone's interested, that would need to be need to be sent in a box and not an envelope. Okay, anyways, I just created this pocket here. It is some French vintage. This is embroidery, some sort of doily that had this nice shape, and this acts as a pocket. I just glued some wallpaper, some vintage floral wallpaper, and this has this beautiful pink burgundy color, and so this is just a clipping. I thought it was nice to clip it here. So inside that pocket, again, this book is full of supplies, and it's like raw supplies that you can use in your own project or even to further embellish this journal. But I wanted to make this as a collection of French, mostly French vintage and antique ephemera related to Christmas, or the season's colors, and so yeah, loads of supplies in it. And first we have this magazine, Le Noël, which means Christmas, the Christmas, and it's from December 1930. And so it's like it's kind of a mixed. It has some religious literature, art, music, related articles. You have some nice, headings that you can cut out if you want to do some collages, and then a few illustration, and so that's the first thing. Goes into the pockets. Then I added this beautiful ladies magazine page. This is a fashions magazine. Then we have, I did make a few handmade things, but it's mostly raw supplies, as I said, and of course I did embellish inside. But here is just a tag medley. Here I just threw a bunch of papers together and stitched around some and added some illustrations, some trim. Here, this is a dictionary page, antique encyclopedia page, and I just fussy cut this lady and put it on it. There's some, this is some vintage, very fine vintage trim, and then just a collage tag, and there's a stamp that says Noël, a book plate, some vintage lace, and this is an antique wool card. It's a little charm that has some stones, red stones on it. So then we have a museum postcard on which I attached some red velvet ribbon. And this is actually a ceramic button that I got from a local artist. Some French ephemera dated from 1899. And then I also put inside calendar, like agenda. Yeah, book calendar, I think it's called. And it's antique. It has this lion on the cover. I don't know if you can see it. It's slightly embossed, and it's from March 1917. And you have a few notes inside, and you know, calendar pages from the year. A few advertisements as well. So that goes in here as well. I didn't show you very well, but I did add some buttons, some vintage buttons on the side, some corners here, and when you open it up, so on this side, I did not alter the end papers just because they were in a great shape. I did, however, put a belly band here. And oh, actually, it was not about flowers. It was about gifts, like the art of gifting, I think. And so, okay, let's just take this out. Okay, so as I said, I did not change the end paper. So inside I tucked this little, it's a sleeve actually. It had some plate inside initially, and I just added a magnet so that it's not like things inside don't fall apart when you open the journal. So when you open it up, you have different types of supplies. So here I think you have a few illustrations. So there are some paintings. This is from Klimt. Some gallery advertisement I think it's in Paris. Yes. And there's a little a little booklet with the Champs-Élysées theater program, and I don't remember from which year. I assume it's from the 50s. Here you have a few advertisements, and I think they're pretty. You also have the portrait of some of the actors, and so yeah, this is very pretty. So I do have some for sale still. I have a whole lot for sale on my IG shop account, so if you're interested in those. Okay, so that goes in here. I also used some left over, like some scraps, I mean some pages scrap, and made some little pocket sleeve. Just added these designs. And inside you have a variety of, well, actually it's just from one book, this one, but it's a French book page for your collages. And on this one, another book page. This one is, I don't know if you can see it, but the printed characters are also almost seems like embossed. So, and this is an antique. Actually, it was not a book; it was a document, and it's dated from 1874. So you get I think you can open that part as well. It's very brittle, but it would be beautiful to collage with. So that's for the two sleeves with book pages. On this side, I just tucked some, just some ephemera. Oh, you can't see it. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not very practical. So here there's an antique French document piece. I just added this printable, and I will try to link the Etsy shop down below. I printed that on some linen textured paper, and so you can cut these apart and put them throughout your projects. I also added some wrapping paper from a Japanese company, and actually I got this paper with a gift that my sister gave me when she came back from a trip to Japan. So that's nice. And so that goes into the sleeve, but I will put that back later. Clip to that, there is some eco paper. I don't know how you call that. It's like a very thin paper, and it has some leaves inside. There's a vintage envelope, craft envelope that you can further embellish. And there's an old advertisement page from a magazine, I suppose, an English magazine. Then we have a little bit, a piece of Japanese wrapping paper again, and this is a laundry trim, a vintage, maybe even antique French laundry trim. Okay, so going on to this side, we have, this is not the first page, this is just washi taped to the first page, but this is, this was part of a ledger, I believe, yeah. So there's this blank part for you to write. I did do some collages as usual. Added some Redouté illustration, some roses, and I just added this vintage trim, a cigar label, and I added an antique French cabinet card, and clipped to this, there's this little charm that I got in a Happy Mail, and I thought the colors went well, so I'm just gonna put it back so you can see the other side with the clip. Yeah, so here you have a little bow with some vintage seam binding. This is a little nib from Tim Holtz, and it says on it Mémoire. Here you have some book pages. This one says Picture Books in Winter, and the other one says Tales of Christmas in French. So just some Christmas and winter related book pages. Okay, so going on to this side, this is the first page, and I did sew a flap. I don't know how you say that, but this is a French book page from Edith Holden's book, and on the other side you have the mushrooms. This is a beautiful flower book. Has all these handwriting types of scripts, and it's all pink. It's really pretty. And I tucked this little, it was a, well, obviously it was a box of Denison gummed labels, but I finished them up and I just tucked some eco-dyed Rolodex cards that were made by Pamela at Austin Paper Tree. So you get 2 of these, and they have this beautiful yellow, light yellow color that goes very well with the book page here. This is some vintage trim, very Christmassy. Moving on to that page, I just did some collage. This is a bit from Klimt artwork. I tucked this little sleeve with some vintage pictures inside, photographs, and there are a few. There's some ID photographs as well as some, family, houses, portraits, and even a little stereograph. So you have your little supplies of photographs in here. So then we have this floating pocket. Oh, just a second. That was clipped together with that clip. So we have a floating pocket with different compartments. And so here's a tag that Chantal at Red Page Cafe has made. So a very pretty tag. You can journal on the back. So this is just some cardstock, some Christmas themed cardstock, and then I just put some vellum paper and made some pockets. These are calling cards, French calling cards. And then we have some, this is a large Denison label, and then this is just a piece of ephemera. I think it's like a small receipt. Actually, I think I'm going to make two-part, like a two-part video because it's going to be long. It's going to be super long, and I'm sorry in advance. It's just that there's so much in this journal, but I hope you'll be able to enjoy it anyway. On the back, you can actually journal, or you can cover that if you like to. This is a printable from the Graphics Fairy, I think. Just a Christmas Noel playing cards. And then we have a little pouch filled with magazine clippings. Well, it's more like advertisements that I cut out from this antique Femina magazine that I have. So, for example, this is for chocolate. There's some beauty advertisements, and yeah, lots of paper bits to play with. Okay, going to the second page, which also has a flap, and this one I did stitch it on the side. So this is part of a book. I don't remember the name, but it has some very pretty floral illustration. I just added 2 scraps here, and then a little vintage business document that is actually empty. You can, like blank, you can journal on it. This is a printable from Cassie at Dusty Roses, and I just printed it on coffee stain paper. I did put a lot of floating pieces that you can remove from the book and use throughout or in other projects. For example, this one is just, here you have, a rose book page with those bright red roses. You have a vintage wool card. Well, it's cashmere actually. And then a photograph of these 3 ladies. I think, yeah, this is the other floating piece here, and it's just a little, it's a French document, typewritten document dated from the 60s, and I just stitched this little pouch pocket thing. Inside I just tucked a few French wine labels and a vintage playing card. So again, lots of supplies, lots of things to play with. Oh, and inside in here, actually, I tucked 2 plates of, it says Paris, Paris costumes. So it's like a book about, you know, garments and clothing back in the time, and you have both sides with illustrations. So it's really pretty. Coming to this page, this is actually an art book page, and I did like the bright red on it. Just, well, obviously reminds me of Christmas, and I did sew the page together with a piece of green fabric, and I added some vintage lace. This is just clipped with some rusty vintage paper clips. This was initially just a little antique handwritten note, and I just washi taped some dried flowers from my garden. This is a little envelope with, inside you have some stamps, and I believe they all have like, yeah, reds and greens. You actually have a few in it. And another piece that was just tucked is this vintage French envelope that you can further embellish and use in your projects. And this is just like a gardening book page, and you can, I just added this vintage trim. You can actually tuck things and write in here. On the other side, I did print on this. I didn't like the text here, so I did print some printables from Cassie. I just like how it looks. It's a bit different with the writing on the back and the bright colors from the printables. So yeah, that's that. And then I attached this handwritten document that was that's just some green, very thin paper. It's from the 30s. We have a photograph. It's from a photo book. It's not vintage. It's just like a selection of old photographs, and a book from a stamp collector's book. On the other side, we have, this is part of a page, and this is, well, this is a page, and it was part of an old postcard album. And so I just tucked this coffee dyed paper. It was a green paper that I coffee dyed for your journaling. And this, actually, this was completely, like the leaves that were initially on the postcard were like fell off. So I just replaced it and glue some others that I pressed myself. So you can't really tell, but I thought it was nice. So it says Ivy here, and it's an antique postcard from 1919. Some sari trim from Boho Tree. First issue, like stamp envelope with this golden border. Here I just sewed a few vintage lace trim and a upholstery trim that you can cut it off and use some pieces. And so it's just on this, it's just stitched on this paper. And here's the Edith Holden French Edith Holden book page. Napkin that I thought was really pretty. And this is just a little handmade journaling card. This is some wrapping paper. I believe it's vintage. I got it from Chantal at Red Page Cafe, and I just stapled this little thing, piece of paper. And so everything is being held by this clip. You can see being held, yeah. So on this side, I clipped some of this beautiful floral fabric. It's vintage and French. This page has more pinks to it, obviously, pinks and reds and greens. And so this is just a part of an art book page, and I just tucked, like I glued an envelope down, so you have one envelope here and another glacine bag here, just a little embellishment with this sari trim. And so here you have some note papers. I think you can tuck things, yeah, on the back of the envelope as well. This is a postcard of a famous French Egyptian singer. I think she was born in Egypt, I think. A handmade card. This one I think I got from Haley. It's really pretty. I love this one. And then there's this little letter that is dated from 1916, so it's antique. Just put it here. There's some random pieces of ephemera, and this is some advertisement page, and there's a Santa here. Next we have this beautiful printable. This is from Cassie as well, and I printed it on some random, well, this is the back of the art page, art book page. And this is a very old piece of eyelet trim. It's very pretty, so I just put this here so you can use this. Then we have this is some antique ledger page, and to protect it I just put this, you can use that for collages as well. This is an antique postcard, a very pretty angel. It's a French postcard, and it's held with those hair clip, and I just attached a button here. And this is a small handmade pocket. It's made with just some book page that I liked the details of, and I just added some vintage trim, clipped a beautiful sari trim. And so inside you can write on the back here, and so inside you can tuck stuff into. And you have this coffee dyed paper. I just stapled this little French receipt. This is some beautiful handmade paper with some leaves in it, and just a journaling card that I made onto a postcard that I didn't like the image of, or maybe it was like all teared, and I don't know, I don't remember. But that's a good way to use the postcard that you don't really like. You can, cover the image and use the back to write. So here is the other side of this. Actually, it's not antique, it's vintage. It's from the 30s. We have a floating piece here. This is just little pockets on here, and a little bit of collage is here, and inside the pocket I did put some goodies. could actually make some swatch on here. I thought it was nice. And this is a German ephemera, an antique one. And on the other side, I clipped a few ephemera. So this is an antique advertisement card for alcohol, like mint alcohol. And then you have a few clippings, magazine clippings, and some very thin, transparent vintage French paper that you can collage with. On this side, I just wanted to add a few trims for you to, use throughout the journal. You can just cut it apart and use it in your projects or in the journal. And this one is stitched, but these ones are actually just pinned with this pin, so you can remove them easily. This is a vintage French wine label, I think. No, it's not wine, it's liquor label.